Morning, Eagle Nation. You got your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald, here with you on a postseason Monday. That's right. We officially reached the postseason, and although it might not have been pretty yesterday, Johnny Mac, mission accomplished. The Eagles wanted to be the number one seed in the NFC with a 14-3 record. They have done just that. It took a little longer than Eagle Nation might have wanted it to, but the bottom line is they got the job done yesterday, right?
Yeah, that's the term I use, mission accomplished. I mean, it was ugly, no style points. You can get in the weeds and complain about, the Giants didn't play anybody. That's not the Eagles' fault. Should have been easier, would have been easier, but, they dropped a lot of potential interceptions in the game. They didn't score touchdowns. They settled for Jake Elliott field goals. And the worst part was they had to play the starters for the entire game. That was the worst part. But they got out of it unscathed from an injury standpoint. So, it's one of those things. You going into the game, you probably prefer they didn't have to play him, but they played him and they got out. So that didn't jump up and bite them. And you're right. I mean, I'm kind of surprised at the panic. I mean, 14-3, this team is set up. And, I go back, Jody, you and I both thought, and I think most people thought the AFC was going to be a lot better than the NFC this season. Didn't really turn out that way through the entire season. But now as we get to the playoffs, the AFC does look a lot tougher than the NFC, mainly because of the quarterbacks. Let's be honest. They have the better quarterbacks in that conference as a whole by, I would say, a wide margin. The Eagles, man, I mean, San Francisco is playing the best football right now. There's no question in the NFC, but they still have Brock Purdy. And as well as he's playing, I don't know how you can be confident with Brock Purdy in a big situation. Now, maybe he proves me wrong, but I'm not going to be scared of him. I'm not scared of anybody, but I'm a little skittish when Patrick Mahomes is on the schedule, or Josh Allen, or Joe Burrow, or even Justin Herbert. You get a little skittish. I'm not getting skittish with Brock Purdy at Lincoln Financial Field. I'm not. I'm just not. And
you're gonna make me play devil's advocate right off the bat.
Well, you can.
The difference between Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts is that Jalen Hurts actually has a playoff loss. He has the same number of playoff wins as Brock Purdy. Purdy has been dynamite is the only way to describe it.
I know he's been dynamite, but I think it's, when we talk about coach of the year, you know how much I respect the 49ers. I picked the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl. And a big reason for that is their head coach. And he's the best offensive play schemer. Andy's up there. I can't say he's better than Andy, but he's right there with Andy. He's great. Everything about Kyle Shanahan is great when it comes to scheming and play calling and things of that nature. But I'd rather have a more accomplished player at quarterback, and that's just And if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. But in a larger point, because San Francisco, as I said, is playing the best football right now, no doubt about it. Everybody else in this conference, I'm not. I mean, they're not coming here and winning. So. For the panic stricken, if I gave you 14-3 before the season, if I gave you, records all over the place before the season, franchise records, whether it's A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, sacks, Miles Sanders career year, Hassan Reddick career years all over the place, y'all would have signed up for it. So enjoy the stinking ride, man. They got to where they needed to get, the number one seed. Everything goes through Lincoln Financial Field up to the Super Bowl. And if somebody does come in and beat them, it's going to be an upset and it's going to be a disappointment.
You and I are very much on the same page, except I think you're selling Brock Purdy a little bit short.
Well, I'm the one who picked the 49ers. I love the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers, to be honest, I've been saying all year that the Eagles are the most well-rounded team. The 49ers are probably a better football team. You know, if you put Jalen Hurts on each team and you put it in the vacuum, the 49ers are probably a better football team. But they don't. My lone concern is the health of Jalen Hurts, and that surprised me because Nick Sirianni, as you know, protects injury information like his office is in Langley, Virginia. I mean, he's misinformation, disinformation, this, that. There was no stinking chance Jalen Hurts was going to play in Dallas. There was no stinking chance he was going to play against New Orleans. The hope was they would have persevered and were able to rest Jalen Hurts until the divisional round of the playoffs. They weren't able to do that. They needed him. Sirianni admitted kind of a jaw-dropping moment for us who were around him all the time. He's hurting bad. You know, hopefully this week clears things up because they were limited offensively without his ability to run the football. And by ability to run the football, I mean they took it away from him because they were trying to protect him. And he was trying to protect himself, as he admitted as well. And if they don't have that element of their offense, the explosiveness is gone. It turns into a conventional, and then you're going to have to grind out wins like you grinded out against a bad football team. And the Giants, I'm not saying the Giants are a bad football team when at full strength, but the group they had out there last night was a bad football team. And Davis Webb was a really bad quarterback. And they only won 22-16.
And as bad as Davis Webb was, as you described him, he did get 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to make it interesting, and the Eagles had to survive an onside kick just to be able to put the game away. Yeah, I don't know what to believe with Sirianni when it comes to the health of Jalen Hurts. I just don't know when he is in protection mode, when he's being honest mode, when he's being forthright mode, when he's being overly cautious mode, when he's being hyperbolic mode. I got no idea. I think Sirianni wants to be a straight shooter and tries to be a straight shooter, but at times I think he says things and does things for particular reasons that aren't exactly straightforward. And I'm sorry.
Well, that's fair, Jody. That's very fair because he acts like that. So it's fair to be cynical and question everything he says when it comes to injuries. But when you add what he said to what the quarterback said, and more importantly, how they played, they took that element out of their offense. They don't want to take that element out. Trust me, they don't want to take it. So that to me is the bigger point: how they played. When they stop the zone read stuff, and you take that threat of him pulling the football on the backside, things get much murkier for the Eagles offense. Much. And it took. By the way, it took Wink Martindale a while to figure it out. That, hey, he's not pulling it. We don't have to worry about that. And then all of a sudden, here comes the blitzes, hurried. He's trying to get rid of the football because he doesn't want to take hits. And it got, as I said, it got murkier. It got muddier. It got a lot more difficult. And if that's the Jalen Hurts that shows up in the divisional round, no matter who they're playing, and they could play, I think, 4 different opponents, they'll still should win the game. But it's going to be, forget about style points. Don't worry about style points if he's not healthy.
Limited Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship
I'm
game.
taking Jalen Hurts all day long over Brock Purdy. Now, the 49ers, that's a tough one for me. That's like choosing, that's my Sophie's choice because I picked the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl. I didn't think it was going to go this way with them losing Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo and down to the 3rd-string quarterback. They are playing the best football, so I have tremendous respect for that organization. But no, I don't trust the third-string quarterback.
All right, so if you don't want to make that Sophie's choice, make this one. Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. If you're the 49ers, who you want taking you into the playoffs this year?
Well, he's played better. I mean, one of the things,
Right. Like you told me last week when I told you that Gardner Minshew isn't one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league. Well, let's judge what's happened on the field. Well, guess what? Brock Purdy's had a better career than either Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo. And I know Garoppolo's got some playoff wins under his belt, but you and I got a chance to watch all those playoff wins. They weren't because of Jimmy Garoppolo. They were because of the way the 49ers played around him. I've been uber impressed by Brock Purdy. I'm sorry to say this, Eagle fans, but I'm just telling you the truth. I picked the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl. John picked the 49ers. So we're talking about the two teams that we picked to be in the championship game. And sure enough, they are on a dead mission to go there because I don't like Dallas. I don't like Minnesota. I don't like New York. I don't like Seattle. I will take a little bit of a bow on the Seattle thing because other people will say, Pete Carroll, if they trade Russell Wilson, he's walking away. Pete Carroll is more into being an NFL coach than a guy 30 years younger than him, Sean McVay is, who's looking for the back door out in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. He spilled Jackson that place. He doesn't want any part of a rebuild, and he's going to take a year or two off in TV, and he's going to pick and choose where he wants to go.
And Pete Carroll wanted nothing to do with that. And sure enough, he got his Seahawks into the playoffs. How, I'm still trying to figure out, but he did it. So give old man.
Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit. Brian Daboll deserves a lot of credit when we talk about Coach of the Year. Nobody talks about Shanahan. I mean, to me, he should be in the conversation. Think about what he's done. And obviously Nick and Doug are a big part of that as well. I wouldn't complain about any of those, to be honest. He's done a good job. There were Daboll's done a tremendous job. There were two teams that I said pretty much earmarked from what their GMs were doing. One was Chicago, and they had the number 1 overall pick. So that went as expected. They were a disaster. They clearly signaled rebuild. The Giants clearly signaled rebuild. And, Brian Daboll is able to get Daniel Jones to play like an NFL quarterback. So he deserves a ton of credit. And Nick deserves a ton of credit. I mean, again, it's amazing how expectations change during the season, Jody. Again, if you said 14-3 and A.J. Brown had 1,500 receiving yards, he ended up with 1,496, and Devonta Smith set the franchise record for receptions, and they had 70 sacks. 70 sacks. Everybody would have been thrilled. And now they get here because they suffered some injuries late. Obviously, Jalen, they were 0-2 without Jalen. And now it's amazing how expectations change. But this team is 14-1 with Jalen Hurts playing quarterback. 14-1. I mean, I'm not a big wins-losses stat for the quarterback, but 14-1 is 14-1.
I thought that A.J. Brown could have this kind of a season. I thought that surely thought Devonta Smith could have this kind of season. And I thought the offense was going to be prolific throwing the football, leading the NFL, and not even close to the team that finished in second place in sacks. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. So those of you who are still trying to run Jonathan, got it out of town.
Well, they might get their wish.
He may take a bus out of town down to Houston to take over the Texans, but you be careful what you wish for because you may get it, because Gannon did a pretty damn good job this year as the defensive coordinator of this football team. And his whole ideology of you got to be aggressive. And God bless him. We love him here at JAKIB Media. Seth Joyner is just beating that horse to death. Oh, my God, about the aggression of the Eagles defense. All they did was come this close to setting the record for most sacks ever by any team in the history of the National Football League.
And by the way, we're going to have Paul Domowitz, and he did a stat package for this. This is the crazy part of the Eagles and their pass rush. Coming into yesterday's game, because I don't know what the Patriots did, they had 68 sacks. Number 2 was the Patriots with 52. That's number 2. Now, when you look into that further, with a 4-man rush without the blitz, the Eagles had 55. They still led. They still led over number 2 with a 4-man rush. And people are saying blitz more. literally, Jody, every single defense, including Wink Martindale. If he could get home with 3, he would be thrilled so he could cover with 8 people. It is the dumbest, and when I say the dumbest sentiment in the history of football, if you don't need to blitz, you don't blitz. You blitz because you have to, and you can't generate pressure. When you're 55 and number 2 is 52 with a 4-man rush, you should fire Jonathan Gannon's ass if he's blitzing all over the place like a moron. By the way, Wink Martindale, 0 blitz early in the game, 50-50 ball. A.J. Brown, 37 yards down the field. These people are amazing, Jody. Amazing.
And, oh, by the way, you talk about expectations. If I had told you told me the Eagles had all these sacks and get nothing from Jordan Davis for the season. 0 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, played all of 8 snaps yesterday. Milton Williams is playing much better than Jordan Davis. You and I both banked on Jordan Davis being a big contributor to that Eagles defensive line. He's done nada when it comes to putting any kind of pressure on the quarterback. He is purely a run-stopping, big, sun-blocking defensive tackle. He has not advanced at all over the course of this year.
Purely, and I'm glad you added that last point, purely a run-stopping sun, whatever your description was, I like it. That's very important in this defense. I know it doesn't look like it. They didn't play a lot of 5-man fronts yesterday. Linval only played, I think, 12 snaps. They didn't play a lot of 5-man fronts because Davis Webb is Davis Webb. But it is very important for this defense to have that big run-stopping nose tackle, so you can play the 5-man fronts on early downs if you have to. If you have to. It is very, very important. And even though it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, and Linval's a big part of this as well. And Linval's actually, because of his experience, he's actually better at it right now. So I'm with you. Jordan's a little bit of a disappointment. And people are going to have this discussion for years because I said it back in April. I'm concerned he's not going to live up to expectations because people want numbers, and he's not here for numbers. He's here to do a specific role, and it helps open things up for everybody else. And I know people don't see it, but it is really, really important to this defense. And the coordinator himself has stressed that to me on multiple occasions. It is really, 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 really important for this defense.
Yeah, I'm gonna call the.
I mean, this is before.
Only good enough to get on the field for 8 snaps in a must-win game. I don't know how you can look someone in the eye and go, really, really, really important. If you're really important, you got to play more than 8 snaps in a must-win game.
Jody, the difference is they barely played the 5-man fronts yesterday because they didn't have to. Now, if they go against the 49ers, who have the most inventive running scheme in the history of the world, and I'm exaggerating, but Kyle's really good at it, they're going to need the 5-man stick in fronts, and you're going to see something different. When Davis Webb is out there, you don't need to play 5-man fronts. He's incapable of doing anything.
They will be in fear of Brock Purdy, but not Davis Webb.
They are not in fear of Brock Purdy. They are in fear.
You just said they weren't in fear yesterday of Davis Webb, but for San Francisco, I'm assuming San Francisco is going to be quarterbacked by Brock Purdy if they get him in the playoffs, right?
Did you miss the running game? If Saquon Barkley was out there, I don't even have to go to San Francisco. If Saquon Barkley was out there, they would have had to play more 5-man fronts. They weren't concerned.
You said Davis Webb. Now, which is it? Are you setting your defense as per the other team's quarterback or the other team's running game?
The running game.
Then why did you bring up Davis Webb as the quarterback of the Giants?
Because Davis Webb. Okay, I should have said Davis Webb and Matt Breida and Gary Barnwell or whoever the hell the 3rd-string running back. I should have said all of them together. It was a joke what the Giants put out on the field. They weren't concerned with the running game. The running game. The running game. Let me say it a 15th time. The running game. If Saquon Barkley's out there, if San Francisco with their impressive running game is out there, Linval Joseph is going to be more important. I'll even take Jordan Davis out of the equation. Linval Joseph is going to be more important because the Eagles need to play more 5-man fronts.
All right. I would have been more afraid of the Giants running game yesterday than their passing game with the quarterback they had in there. That's just me. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We have the Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365. We will be joined by Paul Domowitch next. He's going to jump in and tell us where the Eagles sit as we head into the playoffs. 14-3, 14-3. But does the fact that they kind of struggled down this stretch erode your confidence level to the Birds coming into the postseason? You got some of John's opinions, some of my opinions. We'll get Paul Domowich's opinion next here on Birds.